Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to our Nature Connections Lunch and Learn series. We are really excited to bring in this week Danielle from the Philadelphia Zoo to talk about FrogWatch. So I'll get her started in just a minute, but just a couple of other things coming up. Again, this is a weekly series. It'll happen at noon every Wednesday through the last week of May through May 26th. And we're touching a bunch of different topics. Next week is actually going to be a little different, not quite so much citizen science as just ways to use your backyard to help nature. We have a wonderful beekeeper who will be talking with us about the many benefits of keeping bees in your own backyard. So that should be a really fun program. So we're excited about that. And then upcoming after that, we're talking about Climate Watch, which is a great bird citizen science program through National Audubon. We're talking about water quality monitoring. So lots of great stuff coming up. So hopefully everyone will continue to join us for these weekly programs. If you aren't able to join us, hopefully you will also watch the recordings on YouTube, which is also a great opportunity as well. And just another big plug for everybody. If anyone has not been out recently, the grounds here are beautiful. It's a fabulous springtime. We're seeing tons of flowers. Everything's getting green. It's just so lovely to see everything looking nice. So if you have an opportunity, come out, connect with nature, take a walk. It's really looking fabulous. All righty, so that is my quick little introduction, and now I'm going to turn it over to Danielle. She's with the Philadelphia Zoo and is the coordinator there for their FrogWatch program. So Danielle, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you. Hello, everyone. As you just heard, I'm Danielle Qualia. I've actually been at the zoo for 15 years. I started as an intern and never left. So my department is conservation education, and I have a big title. It's learning and engagement specialist. But within that, as you just heard, I'm the FrogWatch coordinator for the Philadelphia Zoo, which is one of the official chapters for the AZA. So what's really great about being the coordinator is they give you a presentation to talk all about how awesome FrogWatch is. So I'm going to use a little bit of that today as well as my own presentation. I just like to do, again, an overview of why amphibians are amazing and important, a little bit about the program. We can hop onto the website together to listen to some frog calls for fun. And then I have some fun photos of my favorite species that I listen for as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start to do that. I see that we're a small, intimate group today. That's wonderful. When I share my screen, I can't always see if there's a new question in the chat. So Stacy, feel free to interrupt me to say, oh, here's an appropriate question. And then of course, I work in education. It's my job to talk all day, which I'm pretty good at. But at the end, I'd love to, again, hear your thoughts and questions and ideas too. So definitely do that together. So let me go ahead and hop on over here to share my screen. Share my sounds, and I do. Awesome. Okay, friends. So there should be like a green slide that says Finding Frogs in Philly in front of you. Okay, I have a thumbs up from Miss Stacy. Thank you so much. So that we're on the right track over there. Yeah, I've done this presentation a couple of times to all different diverse groups. So again, I call it Finding Frogs in Philly because personally I love the alliteration. So I just think it's funny. But anyway. Oh, here I go and advance my slide. It's not advancing. Go slide, go. That's okay. 1 second. Let me go over here. Let's do it manually versus my touch screen. Okay, great. Awesome, friends. So first, amphibians. As you know, I am not a taxonomy scientist, thank goodness. They're the ones that have to categorize all living things into their families and genuses and so on. And there's always an exception. But again, within, of course, a different class of animals, we have the amphibians. So they're known for going through metamorphosis, a change in their appearance throughout their life. They normally have gills during at least one stage of their life cycle. They again live part of their lives in water and then part on land. Really interesting. They appeared on the earth quite a while ago, so 350 million years ago. Dinosaurs are about 220 million years ago. So it's really cool to know, to me at least, they're one of the oldest vertebrate classes alive. And there are 3 groups. Not everyone realizes there's 3 groups. The salamanders, which again we have in Pennsylvania with us. frogs and toads, and then caecilians. So caecilians are these amazing, they look like giant worms. They're fossorial, they live under the ground. So fun homework for after our lesson today. If you wanted to Google search a photo of a caecilian, I recommend it. Very, very unique looking species for sure. So what is their order? So Anora is how it's pronounced. And again, we have the frogs and toads is what we focus on with FrogWatch USA. They're known from other amphibians because they're tailless. So even the salamanders have tails, the caecilians have tails. And not everyone realizes, everyone goes right to the skin of how they're different. A lot of people know that. But what I say when I teach my students for the zoo is that basically a toad is a toothless frog. And then what's really cool too is how they lay their eggs are different. So the frogs are famous for smoother, slimy skin, but again, not always true. The toads for that warty, dry skin. What's really cool is frogs lay their eggs in clusters. You think of if you blow bubbles, let's say in your drink or something like that, how to make a cluster of bubbles, whereas the toads actually have them in neat little strands. So it's more like a necklace or a bracelet or something. The frogs they're near water. The toads are more adapted for land. Again, we have skinny bodies with long legs versus a little bit more of a stouty body, but again, not always true. The biggest thing I always, again, preach about is the teeth. Frogs have teeth and toads don't. So because of that, toads are frogs, but frogs are not toads. So toads are toothless frogs. That's what I always say. It's a little bit of a difference about them there. So again, at the zoo, I love animals. It's really easy for me to talk about them, to preach about them. But I have guests that come that just want to, get outside. They might be an uncle, let's say, or grandpa with a brand new grandchild or niece or nephew. What do I do with a 5-year-old? I don't know. Oh, let's go to the zoo. So I encounter them on the path, again, all excited with my energy about animals and saving animals. They're like, well, so like, why is that animal important? Why should that animal matter to me? So I always love a slide about why are they important? Like, why should it matter to us? So especially frogs and toads, they benefit the natural world in all different ways, as well as us as people. Predators and prey, the big one everyone thinks about is pest control. As you know, they are insect eaters, which helps us out for sure. In some cultures, food. A big one for me is medicine, my friends. They actually had used research with frog skin to make antibiotics, also to make pain medicine. They're currently investigating, looking at anti-cancer treatments and even HIV, believe it or not. So medicine is actually a big thing with amphibians and helping out people. Education and research. And again, in some cultures, again, they signify different gods, the health of weather, and then overall too for us, they show us health of a certain environment. They're indicators, as we call an indicator species. It's always good to know, if a habitat is thriving or not thriving. Having amphibians around is a great sign of that, to know if it needs to be cleaned up or improved or so on. So what is this picture? Again, they're important in all aspects of life. 10 years ago already, I traveled on behalf of the zoo down to one of our partners in Ecuador to find healthy habitats to breed endangered species of frogs. And something that we did is we had a collection of tadpoles. And this is actually a close-up of the inside of a tadpole's mouth. The black that you see on the edges are actually teeth of the tadpole, because people forget that, again, all throughout their stages of metamorphosis, amphibians are important. As eggs, they're food. As tadpoles, they're filter feeders. They actually clean, filter the water in the habitat for all the other animals to enjoy. And then, as you know, froglet and frog, of course, is that big pest control. And unfortunately for them, sometimes still part of the food chain as well. So it's just a fun photo I love sharing to people. If you were asleep on me already, it probably woke you up a little bit because you're like, what is that? But that's a tadpole mouth, believe it or not. So why should we care about them? We talked about why they're important. Amphibian decline. So the past 20 years, really, let's jump down to the past 30 years. Scientists have reported dramatic declines in amphibians, and that's around the world, not just in a certain area. They say that about 1 out of every 3rd amphibian is threatened with extinction. In Ecuador, that was actually about 2/3 of them. It was jumping in that. And then again, this fact is from the AZA. Scientifically, it's a little bit older, as you can see, from 2012. But in the United States alone, we have 25 that are listed under the Endangered Species Act. So again, we do see declines with them being so sensitive to environmental changes. With that, the primary causes, of course, habitat loss and fragmentation. That's probably really worldwide the most common reason for endangered species is habitat loss, I would say, because of how special they are with the breathing through their skin. Of course, we have pollutants for them. Introduction of non-native invasive species. We've all heard about Florida, and exotic pets kind of taking over habitats and things. It's kind of a big example of that. Climate disruption. So as we see our change in weather patterns, we're seeing our change in rainfall and again, humidity, temperature, of course. So that's going to affect them because they are, again, an indicator species, very sensitive. And then finally, parasites and disease. There's a fungus, a chytrid fungus is what it's called, that scientists believe have always been in the environment, but they think because of the warmer weather now throughout more of the year, it's actually ideal for that fungus to reproduce. So we're seeing an increase of that fungus growing on the frogs and then unfortunately causing them to die. So it's a parasite that affects their skin. A little bit more about what got me into this. First of all, I was telling Stacy earlier that I've always loved animals, all different types of animals. I always thought that amphibians were really unique and really special. But it was actually a coworker, Dr. Carlos Martinez at the zoo, who inspired me to come to Ecuador to help start an education program for the students down there. So this is actually me in the lab, the breeding center that they have in the middle of a subtropical rainforest called the Mazan rainforest. One of our partners is the Cajas National Park. And then Etapa is the environmental agency that's down in Ecuador. So the two of those partners with Zoo Amaru has sponsored this breeding center, again, in the middle of nowhere. It's awesome. I had to go in a Jeep up a mountain and do this hike to get there. And this is two of our keepers, Diego and Fausto, that work with the tadpoles to help them get to be to the froglet stage, if not the frog stage, because once they are adult, they have a higher survival rate. So this is me in the middle of the woods listening for frogs as they're calling, and then marking off where we found them. We actually just take a cotton swab and take a skin sample of the frog. We don't harm it, to then test that frog in the water for pollutants and for that chytrid fungus. And then if it was healthy, we would know that we could reintroduce our healthy froglets from the lab into that pond area. So that was kind of like a big process. But it was going down there and being in the fields, with the frogs right there and these experts, that made me realize just how important they are for the health, of certain habitats. And also made me realize I don't want to do field work for my whole life. I love people and miss people, but it's a really great opportunity, to be there for a month doing that. But it just reopened my whole eyes again to the amphibian crisis, as we call it in the zoo field. So, and then what we're currently doing with the zoo is we're actually working on the island of Hispaniola. So the island of Hispaniola is half Dominican Republic and then half Haiti. This is Dr. Carlos, and he's actually in a lab that we had at the zoo. Several of our buildings at the zoo actually have basements that have breeding centers for conservation. So this frog lab is actually in the basement of Big Cat Falls, believe it or not. But again, the species in Ecuador, the project, again, has taken off, is doing very, very well. So we've, of course, expanded, our help and expertise to other areas as well. And right now we're in Hispaniola with our work. So all this blabbing about this. So I'm here to talk about FrogWatch, my friends, and FrogWatch USA. So first of all, what is the AZA? It's the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And when you are a zoo, what we talk about is how we're a club. So the AZA actually has what's called an accreditation process. They visit your zoo, your aquarium, your wildlife sanctuary every 5 years. And when I tell you that they are meticulous and nitpick every one of your protocols, from safety, from, of course, your animal care and well-being, to actually your education and conservation efforts. And what they do is they certify you as a member of the association only if you qualify. So of the thousands of zoos in the country, there's only about 235 that are AZA accredited. And again, that means have the highest quality of care for their animal collection and a mission of conservation and education. So FrogWatch was a way to have them get more people involved in what we call citizen science. This is people working with scientists to help to save the planet and save species. Began in 1998. So at this point, amazingly, it's over 20 years, again, of research, which is in data, which is amazing. And what it does is it collects data on frog and toad breeding calls, just showing us again where the species are, and then where the species aren't is also data, of course, knowing again when there's healthy habitats. Officially, citizen science is a research collaboration between scientists and volunteers. Volunteers are people just like you and just like me, again, who may not have a PhD in amphibians and in frogs, but just love the environment, love getting outside, and again, really want to help, which is amazing. So it expands opportunities for scientific data collection. There's so many nooks and crannies and habitat spaces that experts, can't get to, but we can. Provides access again to scientific information to community members. I'm going to show you the website now with data in just a little bit. And what's really great too, it's appropriate for what we call large scale or long-term data. Again, finding, a bird with Audubon, finding a monarch butterfly in a certain habitat, finding a frog in a certain habitat, and then suddenly not, is also really important data to know. It lets you know about a change in that habitat or the lack of access to it, from that species. So really, really important for sure. Why should you do it? Why not? I always say, why not? You're going to learn and explore nature of science, collect scientific data on the frogs and the toads, learn more about wetlands and local amphibian diversity. And again, spend time outside, spend time, whether it's a pond, a creek, community wetland area. So why not? That's what I always say for sure. What's the benefits of the data? Why do we do it? Again, we can describe local species diversity. We can know what's here. We can detect rare and invasive species. We can see, again, shifts in species diversity, in their range, in phenology over time, serve as an indicator of wetland health and habitat health. And then inform also the development of land management strategies. So a great example of that is one of our partners at the zoo is the John Hines Wildlife Refuge in Philadelphia. And right there is the airport. So what's really great is the airport has worked with them. They've said, oh, we want to expand. They were able to work with John Hines to look at what area to preserve for the habitat, what area to develop, knowing, again, like where there was most species that were utilizing that land area. So very important for a balance, of human and animal interaction, basically. I'm saying wetlands. So as you know, amphibians, frogs and toads have to be near water to breed. So that's why it's collected normally in a wetland area. And scientifically, how do we classify a wetland? There's presence of plants that are known to grow in saturated conditions, soils that lack oxygen, and then water at or near surface during some part of the growing season. So just again, a little bit of science definition there for you about what a wetland is. The fun part that, again, there's official training for if you're interested, is the monitoring protocol. They say that you're quiet for at least 2 minutes before initiating the monitoring session. So the frogs and toads, again, can acclimate to your presence. They are prey animals. So when you're walking on a path or walking up to where they are, they're going to hear you right away. And based on how loud you are, they're going to hop into the water for protection. So what you do is you stand there quietly and again, show that you're not a threat to them so that then the males can come back out, can continue to call. They say that you actually cup your hands around your ears and you listen again for 3 minutes. You bring a stopwatch so that you know that it's accurate your amount of time. And then as we know, we have our ear flaps to help us to gather sounds from all around us. So by you cupping your hands, you make your ear flaps even larger. So you enhance your hearing, believe it or not. You listen to, you identify and remember all the breeding calls occurring during the session. And then actually if it's interrupted by noise, you have to restart it. So just a little bit of a brief of the monitoring and what you do. But it's really fun. I've gone, again, with coworkers, with friends. As it was opened to the public, I've taken out 40 people at a time, all different families. Again, diverse ages as well. We've gone over the protocol, kind of like in the parking lot of John Hines before we're near one of the listing sites. We hike on out there, and then we do it together. So what we also have, of course, with that is the reporting, because we want to have the data collected, obviously. So immediately following, when you're monitoring, You fill out your data sheet, which I'm going to show you just what it looks like in a second. We're going to list all the species that are heard during the session. And we also rate their calling intensity. So again, a 0, obviously, you don't hear anything at all, and it goes up from there. And again, no data is still data. So it's important to know too, if there was a presence of species or there was not a presence. And what's really interesting as well for me personally is based on the months. It's normally happening through March through August, the FrogWatch, the citizen science program. You'll have different species. The wood frogs call very, very early in March. The bullfrogs come out a little bit later, more near August. So I've learned that too doing the program, which is really interesting. Here's the intensity I was mentioning earlier. The 0 is the no frogs or toads heard. 1 is individuals can be counted. 2, we have the calls that can be distinguished, but there is some overlapping. And then 3 is a full chorus. This is when you hear so many frogs or toads, there's no way to count them or separate them. So it's again, it's very, very, it's awesome. It's just awesome to hear. And it's always a challenge in a good way when you have a full chorus, let's say of one species, like the spring peepers, I feel, are always in a full chorus. And you have, other calls underneath of it that you have to try to listen and get through. So it's really, really interesting for sure. Yeah, our online resources, I'm actually going to hop on there with you right now, just so I have a break of me like chatting. We do some more visuals right now, but frogwatch.org, or again, if you go to the AZA website, /FrogWatch. It has all the information there. If you're interested in doing it yourself, you can attend a local session with one of the chapters. You can listen to an online training. You can download the data sheets, and it also shows you how to upload your data then on what's called the FieldScope website. So it's really cool. People sign up as groups and do it again through a chapter, but there's also individuals that do it in their own backyard or a property right nearby. Like maybe your neighbor has a farm or something like that has a pond area. Maybe there's a creek behind your house. It's really interesting to do that as well. Let me get ahead and pull up really fast some of our resources for you today. Can everyone see that FrogWatch USA, Pennsylvania? Can everyone see that? Okay, great. So I'm actually going to go to my first tab right here. And this is an example of the data sheet. Again, it's something that you download. And again, when I go out with the public, as well as my coworkers, and when I say coworkers, I mean people from our finance department, our garden services team, our development team, not just education. It's a really family fun, again, get outdoors and participate in science opportunity. So as you can see, it's very self-explanatory, our data sheet here. We have the volunteer site and information. So the zoo, again, has registered our site as the John Hines Wildlife Refuge. They're our partner when we do FrogWatch. But you actually can register, again, your backyard or your neighbor's backyard and so on, which is pretty awesome. Of course, your name and your state, again, just so they know what citizen scientist was participating in this particular listening. And you're going to see on the right-hand side there, the date, start time, and end time. As we talked about, you're going to be listening for exactly 3 minutes. And the date, again, is an indicator. If you're in March, you're going to hear different species and you're going to hear in July or August. So a big thing I like to point out on here is also the weather conditions. So you do record the air temperature. And then we also have on there is the wind speed. So 0, again, is that there's no wind at all. And then going up to 5 is when you look at the trees, you actually can see the trees moving. So why is this important? Does anyone know why that's important to have a wind speed when you're listening for amphibians? Sorry, I popped a question out of nowhere, didn't I? But it's actually because of the frogs drying out. So if there's a strong wind, it's the males that come out of the water to do their calling. And if it's too strong of a wind, they're going to get cold and dry too quickly and have to go and jump and dive back in without being able to maintain their call. So it does affect, how loud and how well they're able to call at that particular night. So you don't want it to be too windy, believe it or not. And the precipitation, I know for us, we're like, oh, it's drizzling. Oh no, that is ideal for them. Again, so they're sitting outside of the water source. They're happily calling. If there's actually a late rain or drizzle, that's perfect. That means they're getting replenished in their skin. They don't have to take a break from calling to go back into the water area. So for us, it's going to, give me a bad hair day, but they actually love to have that that light rain and that drizzle going on. Snow is obviously gonna be too cold for them. So again, if it's snowing, you probably won't have any luck. But it's always good to have some participation. And then again, they want to know too if that precipitation has happened in the last 48 hours, just to give us again, data about the conditions that individual amphibian was using when doing their call that day. It's going to scroll down a little bit here too. And then what we have as well is the area where you're going to list the species that you heard and go ahead and rate that call too. So again, just so you're familiar with what the data sheet looks like, to know that if you're interested, I promise it is not too overwhelming at all. And again, it does have over here your guidelines basically too, which is great. So what we also have, so Field Scope. So this is actually the site that they use to record their data. It was actually just redone. But what's really fun is, again, you can make yourself an account really easily. I have an account. And when you click on data, you can see the map. You can do your data or the most recent. The most recent, as you can see, is the last 25 that were put in. And the map kind of shows you with these yellow circles who was doing data really over the last couple of days or so. And then when you swap to table, sorry, I hit it twice. And when you swap to table, it actually, again, will let you know where everything was recorded at. So it has the latitude and longitude there. But again, when you make an account, you register yourself and then also your location where you're going to be listening for your frogs. And that's what you see here in the station name. So it just lets you know, again, like where it was recorded. So it's really interesting to see that across the whole country, people are doing it. I really love seeing that personally. Just let you know that there's more citizen science out there for sure. So then what we have as well is the official site for the AZA. And on here, again, I'm sorry, I actually meant to show you the homepage of FieldScope too. On the homepage of FieldScope, again, there's a FrogWatch USA right there. It's just frogwatch.org. They'll get you to this site. And what's really fun, again, there's over 150 observations that are recorded right now, 150,000, over 5,000 citizen scientists, which is really, again, amazing. Everyone's participating with us. But here's some more information for you, just the project overview, how to participate or get involved. When you click on this, you can, again, access observation data and the site registration. You can download the data sheets if you need to. It also lets you, here you go, check out, again, coordinator training. So it lets you know if there's a chapter near you, you can attend a training to be an official volunteer and do data as well. So if you're interested, it's really easy to find an area by you and how to get involved. So just wanted to show you that too. And then again, I'm sorry, back to AZA. What AZA has is it actually has, again, the information that FieldScope does, but then you also can search by your state and by your list. So what I'd love to do with you right now, just so I have a break from you having to hear me talk, is in Pennsylvania, it has a list of all of the species that you would hear in Pennsylvania that we know are here, again, from past years of data. So we have a big list, actually, American bullfrog, American toad, two of my favorites, actually. The Atlantic coastal leopard frog, and I have an article about him we're going to chat about in a little bit too. Copi's gray tree frog, the Fowler's toad. So if you don't mind, I'm going to pick the first one because the Fowler's toad call to me is quite amazing. Again, this is an animal that is a few inches in size, and to hear its call is, again, to me quite remarkable. So get your ears ready. Here we go.
LNS catalog number 57101.
Fowler's toad, gun library, cut 2.
These are Fowler's toads, identified by voice, at the mouth of a marshy creek running into Lake Erie, about 3 to 4 miles east of Rondo Provincial Park gates, May 20, 1972.
So So I'm not sure about you, but if I was outside and heard that noise, I would think, oh, is there a pig nearby? Is there a pig? I never would have thought it was a toad. And one time I was leading a group of students actually in John Hines doing FrogWatch, and we were listening, facing forward, and we had just finished a session, and suddenly behind us in the other creek, a fowler's toad let out a call, and I fell over because it was so loud. I wasn't expecting it. But again, if I personally had heard that, I would have thought it was a pig and not a toad. Oh my goodness. Okay, green frog down here, leopard frog, pickerel frog. Does anyone have a frog that they like that they want to listen to? I want to pick one.
It was suggested that maybe we do the American toad as a comparison to the Fowler's
Oh,
toad.
I would love that. That's a great idea. The American toad, again, you're going to hear is quite different. It's what they call a trill. This long, beautiful chorus. So it's very different, isn't it? Again, it's what they call a trill over that crazy yell that they have. That was a great idea. Good choice, my friends. Shall we go for one more? Anyone else have an interest?
I'm a personal fan of the green frog. I think they're really cool.
Excellent. Love their call.
And pretty common, so.
Yeah, in our area, definitely. Yeah, the green frogs are for sure. The Peeper is probably the most, I feel, but then gotta love the green frogs too. We have several. Again, should we try the first one? Oh, again, it's just short and sweet. He'll play it again. So I'm gonna try to find a longer one as well. But it sounds like a banjo, doesn't it, friends? It sounds like they're in the, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to close it. It sounds like they're in a band. Get a little banjo twang going on there. Gotta love it. And again, before I did FrogWatch, I had no idea there were so many different calls. We all think of the classic ribbit call. Well, it turns out that there's a species in California that makes that ribbit call. So you think of California, that's where Hollywood is and where the movies are made. So that's apparently why they made that sound for all of the frogs, because that's the frog they were used to hearing in their area. So a little bit of history of movies there, and not correct animal noises for you. So, okay, let me hop back over to my PowerPoint, my friends. Okay, great. So again, I did that with you. I put a slide in to hold my spot, but we just did that together, which is great. So I just want to do a couple basics about their breeding, because again, it's not things that I knew until I became involved in amphibians at the zoo. So it's normally the males that arrive first at breeding sites. And again, it's the males that do the calling. So when you're out and maybe you find or able to see a specimen versus just hearing it, you'll know if it's a male or a female by looking at the chin, what we call their vocal pouch. So again, the males advertise by calling to attract the females to the breeding sites. And when we say advertise, again, that means their beautiful call that they do. And then also different species have more than one call, because you'll have males that are yelling at another male to leave the territory versus also just trying to call, to the ladies, to the females. Once the male encounters a female, he'll attempt to clasp her in what's called the amplexus. So I always say that the girls are large and in charge. The females are bigger. With the amphibians, because they're the ones that are producing the eggs, what the male does is he sits basically on her back, and As she goes to release the eggs, that's when he's going to release his sperm. And then the sperm then, goes ahead and fertilizes those eggs, and they're deposited in water. So again, for the frogs, as you can see the picture on the right-hand side, it's in a big cluster. Whereas if you had a toad, it would be like in these strings, kind of looking like small little bracelets or necklaces. This is a wood frog that we see here in this photo. What I also didn't know, which I think is so interesting, is that there's actually more than one way that the amphibians make their call. So there's actually 3 general types of the vocal sacs that the males have. And again, you can see the pictures there on the right-hand side. So there's a single external vocal sac. There's paired ones. It means, again, that there's 2, one on either side of the facial area. And then sometimes it's even more an internal one. So we'll see kind of like their whole front, if you think of like the chest area expanding, because their vocal sac is actually internal. And again, that does vary obviously based on the species. So just something I was not aware of personally. So I started doing FrogWatch. This is the list that we do have in Eastern Pennsylvania. So again, that's where that list was from. We just saw there on the AZA website. Again, we listened to a few, obviously. Again, the wood frog is quite early, and the wood frog actually sounds like geese, like ducks quacking. So when I first started FrogWatch, I was like, wait, are those geese in the creek, or is that a frog in the creek? And it was frogs. It was wood frogs. So again, just awesome. All these sounds I heard growing up, not recognizing what they actually were. It's so much fun, to discover it, obviously. So I'm just going to end with a couple of my favorites, if that's okay. And again, I love to do questions. I'm do a time check right now too. Oh yeah, again, I can do a couple of my favorites, and I love to hear questions or thoughts, or again, just experiences. If you've been outside hearing different frog calls, I'd love to hear about those too. As I just mentioned, the wood frog is kind of our earliest caller in the area. And what's amazing to me is, again, how loud the calls can be. When you see their size, again, they're not more than 3 inches. They're very, very small, but again, their duck-like call, is heard quite a bit. Talks a little bit about their appearance, about their color, and how we have the stripe on them to help us tell. But what's really amazing about the wood frog in particular, the next slide, it shows you their range. But their range is actually the largest of all the other species that we have really in North America, including even, as you can see, Alaska. What is amazing is when they go into like their torpor, their hibernation, their blood actually acts like frozen ice packs. If you've ever had like the blue gel frozen ice pack in your freezer for when you bumped your knee or something like that, that's actually how their blood works. It has like an antifreeze in it. So they're absolutely able to freeze in their habitat and then thaw out as spring comes back, as the season gets warmer, and then just go back and function. So it's absolutely amazing. And again, they have the most northern part and range of North American species. So again, I love the wood frog, very, very unique and special there. So, and again, this is just a little bit about their voice. So again, it's a series of short, raspy quacks. I thought it was geese when I first was listening to them until I learned otherwise. So, and this is, again, a species that has the paired vocal sac. So we kind of have 2 coming out on either side of the facial area. The spring peeper, I have to include him. He's so small, but so loud. Again, not more than 1.5 inches, as you can see. Again, it's probably the most popular. It's the peep one. So beep, 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 beep. When you go outside now, if you didn't notice before, you're going to notice it everywhere because they're just everywhere. And again, they have that pleasant little peep. They do the chorus. It's, again, quite beautiful. And one of the calls we just listened to, it was the spring peeper chorus in the background. I think it was one of the toads call that was going on there. So again, small, good for camouflage there too. And then this is a frog that's near and dear to my heart that we have to talk about for a moment. So this is actually a brand new species that has been named. It was named over the last 10 years, but actually discovered about 30 years ago. Again, there was a scientist in Pennsylvania who was out in the field doing, again, just research, just listening for frog species and collecting data. And he was listening, for leopard frogs. We have northern leopard frogs and southern leopard frogs, and their calls, again, are similar, but of course different because of the species. but he heard a call that didn't sound like either. It sounded more, again, kind of like a rubbing of rubber on a balloon. And he just noticed, he said, you know what, this is not quite right for northern or southern. Oh my gosh, could this be a new species? So in science, when you think you found a new species, it takes proof, obviously. So it takes, more observation. It takes more data that you've heard it again and again. It wasn't, again, just you being off that day, or again, maybe the frog being off that day or something like that. So again, it took about 30 years, but about 10 years ago now, it is actually listed as a new species. So its range, because of that, friends, is very, very small. Sorry, I just hit something on my other screen. There we go. So again, where it's found right now is only a couple of areas. This map is the northern and southern leopard frog. And then as you see, there's like an overlap a little bit in habitat. But it's only found right now in Central Park in New York. Again, at John Hines here in Philadelphia, and then apparently also a park that's in Virginia. So they have no idea how it is separated and spread. And again, in more urban-like areas versus more open wetland areas. So it's quite an amazing discovery that, again, they're still trying to learn more about, because it's just a brand new species, which is amazing. They have, again, like short, throaty chuckle like croaks. And to be honest, when I hear it, it reminds me more of like rubbing rubber on a balloon versus an actual croak. But very similar with the other leopard frogs, they sound like a rocking chair or like creaky wood. So again, it's very, very similar. But for me, I always think of a balloon when I hear it, and that's how I know it's that different species. But again, near and dear to my heart. And then here, amazingly, at John Hines in Philadelphia, which is right by, of course, Bucks County and the zoo. So you never know what you're going to find out there, my friends. You never know. We heard the American toad call. So again, it's one of my favorite calls, that long, beautiful trill. I'm glad that one of you wanted to recommend that. You see this beautiful warty skin we have over here. And then for me too, when I take out children to John Hines for the program, there's always one on the path. So I always thank it. The parking lot area actually has a group of them. So we can always hear them before we even start the program, which is really, really fun for the families that come as well. And I love this picture. This shows you, again, their eggs. You see how it's in like the strand, kind of like a big bracelet or necklace, versus the cluster like the wood frog photo we saw earlier. Again, just unique in how it's a toad versus a frog. And this is a picture too of the amplexus. You can see the males right now on the females as well. And this is their range. So again, quite popular in our area of the woods, as you can see, especially over here in the Pennsylvania area. So I have 4 photos of him. I told you I liked him, right? Again, we have that trill going on, the 5 30 seconds. It's quite impressive, definitely. Again, I just love the photo with that special skin. Really unique for sure. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I've been blabbing for quite a bit. Oh, good. It's 12:44. So I'm right on time with that. But let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Awesome. Can everyone see me okay? Okay, good. I see ads and stuff. Wonderful.
Great.
I'd love to hear questions. Go ahead, Stacy. What were we going to say?
I don't see any questions in the chat, but you can put them in the chat, or if you want to, we're a small group, so if you want to unmute yourself and ask Danielle, that is completely fine as well. Does anybody have any questions?
It doesn't have to be about FrogWatch or myself. It could be about the zoo and other animals as well. Of course, our theme is FrogWatch today.
I have a question about leopard frogs generally.
Sure.
I do a lot of frog hunting.
Oh, good.
I'm the education person for BCAS. So I take kids out and we do a frog watch, a frog walk every spring. I have never seen a leopard frog ever in the wild. So I don't know if we just don't have them or if I'm not looking in the right place.
And where do you take the kids hiking? Is it in Bucks County?
Yeah. Right around, I mean, we have about 60 acres. We've got streams and ponds and marshes, and we've got loads of pickerel frogs, bullfrogs, green frogs, American toads. We've got wood frogs even, but I've never seen a leopard frog.
So the first thing that I would say is the pickerel frogs look so similar. So so it definitely, again, you're smiling, so you're quite an expert, aren't you? I know belly for me is a sign because normally leopard frog, the belly is like more yellow in color.
Right.
Do you ever just observe? Do you ever like collect and then re-release? I'm just curious.
Oh yeah. No, we do catch and release. And pickerel markings are always more rectangular to me than round.
Okay.
Pickerel frogs are round. Those markings.
True.
So that's usually my dead giveaway. But is there a particular local range where I should be looking, or I would love to find one.
No, so you know what? I should have kept that map up longer for their range for you. But they are found in the area. I've heard them at John Hines. Again, I go there at nighttime. I don't go there during the day. When I go to do the FrogWatch program, but I have heard them there. Another question I have for you. Did you mention if you have bullfrogs or not in your area?
No, we have bullfrogs.
Oh, okay. Well,
we have some really big bullfrogs.
I was going to say, so bullfrogs are known for quite dominating a certain habitat and kicking out other species. I'm wondering, if the bullfrogs have kind of taken over the space where the leopard frogs were thriving, and maybe that's what happened. Although you seem to have good diversity besides that, so I'm not sure if that's exactly accurate. But another guess that I would have, could be that actually, because bullfrogs. So we actually built a frog pond at John Hines in addition to its natural areas that it has. And the first season that the frogs used it had several green frogs and then cricket frogs there. And the next season it was all bullfrogs and that was it. Well, I'm sorry, it was spring peepers and bullfrogs and that was it. So the bullfrogs came in and kicked out the other two species basically. So I'm wondering if that could have happened maybe too in your area.
Well, I mean, we do have plenty of peepers. We have gray tree frogs. We have plenty of toads. Lots and lots and lots of toads.
I love the toads. Yeah, I love the toads.
I love it when they're that itty bitty black one when they first pop out of the pond and to start heading for the woods. They're so tiny and they're so cute.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I wish I had a more expertise answer for you there. But again, I'm wondering if the bullfrogs have anything to do with it. And again, if you have the pickerels and all, they really use a similar habitat too. So,
well, maybe I just need to go pay more attention because the pickerels we generally find away from the pond, so that maybe they are getting chased out by the bullfrogs. We find them more along the creek side, and actually, in the grassy areas. Even at my house, they tend to like the lawn. They hop away from my wet air. Whenever I'm mowing the grass, I have to go really slow because they're all hopping away from my lawnmower. So.
Yeah, so they're trying to adapt too of the changing environment. Again, they're good like that, obviously. So, yes, Diana.
I'll keep an eye out. That's all.
Yeah, I'm curious now too, for sure. My biggest guess would be the bully bullfrogs, unfortunately. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, friends. You also have a question?
I don't have a question, but thank you. That was so interesting.
Oh, you're very welcome, my friend. You're very welcome, actually. Yeah, and again, I've always appreciated all different types of animals, obviously. And my parents actually have like over an acre, but on 3 sides of their house is a creek. So I was always yelled at by my mother because I have 2 brothers, and we would be in the creek. Get out of the creek! Get out of the creek! And again, as a kid, like I'm finding minnows, I'm finding frogs, but I don't know what species they are. I have no idea. And then if you've ever heard an American bullfrog, so again, behind the creek, and then the back of my parents' house is a water reservoir. So my whole life growing up, I heard this weird noise, yugarum, yugarum. And I was like, oh, what is that? But again, as a kid, like, it's just, you're used to hearing it. So when you don't hear it, it's weird. It's not weird when you do hear it. So then, I was in college in my herpetology class and I was like, oh my gosh, those are American bullfrogs. There's hundreds of them behind my parents' house. Again, I had no idea. Like I didn't appreciate it until I was educated about it. So that sparked a little bit, my herpetology class in college, my love of amphibians, and my coworker and friend now, that's what he's all about. So I'm just glad he got me on board in a great way. And they're just so unique. It's amazing. How do you go from this little egg to this tadpole with gills, right, and a tail, and then you're on the land with your limbs, and again, it's just amazing. Just some amazing animals overall. And so diverse, so different, for sure. So I'm glad you came. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Friends, do you have any favorite animals? Again, while we're talking about it. Oh, and love John Hines. Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Ms. Patel. John Hines is an awesome place. Great people that work there too. Best friends of ours at the zoo. So. We're gonna say, Stacey, do you have a favorite animal that's local?
Oh, favorite animal. Oh gosh, that's so hard to tell. It depends on the day. It depends on what I've seen recently. Once I see them, they become my favorite for a while.
I like it.
But just to reiterate, John Hines is a great place. If you have not been down there, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a birder. The birding is fabulous.
Yeah.
Obviously you can find lots of other great things there, and the staff is absolutely great. It's a really neat place. You don't realize it's there until you're right there, but it's definitely worth the drive.
Absolutely. And to be honest, we partnered with them with FrogWatch because, again, Dr. Carlos Martinez, he was worried about what's called the ambient noise. The ambient noise meaning the noise, that people make influencing the environment, not realizing it. They're next to the airport. So our first year that we had done FrogWatch, we hadn't done it as an official chapter. We had done it really for his own interest. So him, myself, and some other coworkers went out. It was actually once a week over 12 weeks. And we, in particular, wanted to listen and record the intensity of frog calls and then compare it when suddenly an airplane went overhead, if that influenced them, if they stopped calling, if it scared them back into the water. And what's really great, again, is just like us being used to our surroundings, someone from the city is used to the ambulances going by and used to the train going by. They sleep right through it. Someone visiting the city is like, wow, it's noisy. So the frogs weren't bothered at all. Some of them would stop calling just for a moment to save their energy, but would start right back again. They wouldn't wait 2 minutes, like a predator had gone by. They'd wait maybe 30 seconds. So we were just really happy to know that ambient noise, again, from the airport was not bothering the species that were there or their breeding cycles. Again, really important, for the thriving of those species. So that's actually why we picked John Hines in the first place. Again, it's over 10 years ago now to begin the program there. And again, happily, they're thriving and doing well. And now, over the last, again, 4 years, we're able to document the Atlantic coastal leopard frog, which is amazing, for sure. You never know what you're going to find. So.
All righty. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Danielle. This was incredibly informative. And like I said, I'm a huge lover of frogs and toads myself. So it was great to see them and hopefully educate people about what they can find in their backyards and get people paying more attention to them. So this is a great time of year for them too, with the calls and all the tadpoles and everything.
Yeah. So. March through August is FrogWatch time. So go for a walk outside for sure.
Absolutely. All righty. Well, thank you all so much. Hopefully everyone will join us again next week, again, next Wednesday at noon. And next week, we're going to be talking about honeybees. So it should be a great program as well. So thank you all so much. And hopefully we'll see you soon. And if you haven't had a chance to get outside, definitely do so. It's beautiful. It's spring. Things are just beautiful right now. So get outside. All righty. Thanks so much.
Thank you.